Welcome to The Explainer. I'm your host, and as a legal expert, I spend a lot of time looking at the incredibly complex constitutional doctrines that govern the boundary between local jurisdiction and federal enforcement. Sometimes those legal boundaries get a little blurry, and other times, well, they violently clash. Today, we're unpacking a recent high-profile incident out in Massachusetts that serves as a really perfect case study in jurisdictional friction. We're going to impartially dissect the facts of the case, the underlying legal mechanisms that dictate state and federal interaction, and the institutional fallout that happens when these two massive legal systems collide head-on.
So it all boils down to this fundamental question. What actually happens when local police and federal agencies don't share information? Let's dive right into this. Under traditional frameworks, local jails and federal authorities maintain pretty open channels of communication. If a local agency arrests someone who happens to have a federal warrant or an immigration violation, the federal agency typically issues an administrative detainer. That's basically a formal request for the local jail to hold the suspect for an extra 48 hours so a secure transfer of custody can take place. But when state or city laws legally mandate that local law enforcement operate completely independently from federal immigration authorities, that traditional link is severed. The case we're analyzing today gives us a crystal clear look at exactly how that mechanical breakdown actually plays out in the real world.
To thoroughly map out this legal tug-of-war, we're breaking this down into 4 parts. 1. The Worcester assault case. 2. The sanctuary release mechanism. 3. Local versus federal jurisdiction. And 4. The federal ICE response.
All right, let's start with part 1, the Worcester assault case.
According to police reports, the suspect here is an Indian national named Deval Amratbhai Patel. On May 16th, he was arrested by the Worcester Police Department in Massachusetts. And the specific charge? Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. Now, in Massachusetts, this isn't just a minor infraction. It is a severe, high-stakes felony charge that carries a significant legal threshold for violence and, of course, potential prison time. So at this exact moment in the timeline, apprehending this suspect is a purely local matter. The Worcester police are acting entirely within their sovereign mandate to protect their citizens and arrest a suspect accused of a severe violent crime strictly within their city limits. The mechanics of the crime itself are straightforward, but, definitely severe. Patel worked at a local liquor store, got into an argument with a customer, and the dispute escalated into physical violence. Patel allegedly grabbed a baseball bat and struck the man. The legal concept at play here is known as general police power. Under the 10th Amendment of our Constitution, states have the inherent authority to regulate behavior and enforce order within their territory for the health, safety, and general welfare of their inhabitants. Responding to immediate physical threats, like a violent altercation at a local business, that is the absolute bedrock of state police power. The local authorities processed him for a felony assault based squarely on these specific localized facts.
Which brings us to part 2, the sanctuary release mechanism. To really understand what happened next, we have to look at the legal definition of the policies governing this local jurisdiction. Sanctuary policies, in the context of this specific incident, refer to ordinances or laws that legally prohibit local officials from actively assisting federal immigration enforcement. This routinely results in individuals being released from local jails without anyone notifying ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It's crucial to understand the exact mechanics here. Federal authorities issue those ICE detainers we talked about, which are administrative requests to hold a suspect. But, and this is key, they are not judicial warrants signed by a federal judge. Because they're merely administrative, sanctuary jurisdictions legally mandate that their local sheriffs and police departments cannot honor them. It's a deliberate, legally enforced severance of communication. It means that when someone makes bail, the local jail is actually barred by its own laws from picking up the phone to tell federal immigration authorities that a person of interest is literally walking out the front door. And this legislative reality creates a highly contentious chain of custody. Step 1, we have the local arrest by the Worcester Police Department on May 16th. Step 2, because of the sanctuary policies, we get the sanctuary release. The suspect made bail, walked out of the local jail, and crucially, no ICE alert was ever triggered. This total lack of notification sets the stage for Step 3, the federal arrest. Because ICE was denied a secure transfer inside a controlled jail environment, they had to dedicate resources to track, locate, and apprehend the suspect out in public themselves. From a law enforcement logistics standpoint, executing a tactical field arrest in an open community is exponentially more dangerous and resource-intensive for federal agents than a secure administrative handoff inside a jail.
Now let's zoom out a bit for part 3, local versus federal jurisdiction. To truly grasp the tension here, we need to talk about the legal doctrine of dual sovereignty. On one side, we have the Worcester Police Department. Their mandate is strictly local. They handle the assault and battery charges, maintaining order under state law. On the other side, we have the Department of Homeland Security and ICE. Their mandate is entirely federal. They have plenary power over immigration, handling matters of illegal entry, and enforcing federal deportation laws. Under the dual sovereignty doctrine, an individual can be subject to two completely separate legal systems at the exact same time. In this case, the suspect allegedly entered the U.S. illegally at an unknown date prior to the local incident, so he fell under both jurisdictions at once, local for the baseball bat assault and federal for his immigration status. Federalism actually allows the state to prioritize its own legal process completely independently of what the federal government might want. The sequence of events here gives you real whiplash, all caused by this jurisdictional overlap. On day 1, May 16th, local authorities make the arrest. Almost immediately, on day 2, the suspect makes bail and is released back into the community under local sanctuary policy. By day 3, May 18th, ICE agents track him down and arrest him under federal authority. This 3-day game of legal tug-of-war highlights intense friction, but it also creates a profound state of legal limbo. Think about it. What happens to the local felony charges while ICE is arresting him on day 3? Federal deportation proceedings can frequently preempt, delay, or severely complicate local criminal prosecution. If the federal government successfully deports the suspect, the local victims of the assault might never see the case go to a local trial. That is a massive, entirely separate legal headache for local prosecutors.
And that leads us to our final section, the federal ICE response. You can clearly see the deep institutional frustration from federal authorities in their official statements on this case. Acting Assistant Secretary Lauren Best stated, "Sanctuary politicians must stop choosing to release criminals into our communities." She explicitly criticized lawmakers for releasing someone who, in her words, thought he could go around beating people with a baseball bat. Now, as legal analysts, we examine this highly charged rhetoric objectively to understand the federal legal posture. The Department of Homeland Security is operating strictly from the perspective of the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution. Their stance is that federal law is the supreme law of the land, and because of that, local governments absolutely shouldn't pass policies that actively hinder or obstruct federal immigration mandates. If we break down the core procedural arguments made by DHS, their grievances are really threefold. First, the outright refusal of local jails to cooperate with ICE law enforcement. And it's vital to note here that this friction is often internal at the local level. A lot of times, local police and sheriffs actually want to cooperate with federal agents to hand over a violent suspect, but they are legally barred from doing so by city councils or state lawmakers who authored those sanctuary statutes. Second, DHS highlights the physical act of releasing individuals charged with violent felonies right back onto the street instead of coordinating a secure handoff. And third, they argue the overarching position that these policies fundamentally put the safety of everyday citizens at risk by forcing federal agents to conduct dangerous community arrests. It's really important to remember the legal precedent that governs all of this, the 10th Amendment anti-commandeering doctrine. The Supreme Court has ruled that the federal government literally cannot force or commandeer state and local authorities to enforce federal laws. Because of this, the mechanical breakdown in interagency cooperation that we've unpacked today is going to continue to be a structural feature, not a bug, of American federalism. Which leaves us with this final, overarching question. How will the ongoing friction between local policies and federal laws shape the future of community safety? This single incident in Massachusetts is just a microcosm of a massive nationwide legal reality where jurisdictions collide and the practical application of law enforcement becomes incredibly messy. Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer today. I hope this deep dive helped clarify the profound constitutional dynamics at play here. Until next time, keep asking the hard questions.